Good morning. On this week's episode of Haston Helping Hands, I'm going to talk to you about why sharing your struggle is important. Also, about the fact that this is extremely hard for me to do still. It's hard for a lot of people. I've had some conversations this week, I'm not going to name names, with people who have become vulnerable with their boss, vulnerable with their partner, and while it was not comfortable in the moment, it wound up yielding some really nice results. And in the interest of full disclosure and transparency, I'm going to tell you that yesterday was a really hard day for me. And the details don't really matter. It's more about admitting when things are not great. And I'm really not great at that. I tend to be more of a glass half full, sunny side up kind of person. And it's very difficult for me to admit that things are rough. And I was explaining that to a friend of mine, and the support that I was getting from her was so amazing. And it almost made me cry, almost like I'm about to do right now. And the thing is that I remember when I tell people about what's going on and what's hard, I'm usually amazed at how they come through with support. And it's always right there for the asking. It's literally right there at the edge of things. All you have to do is ask. And it's very difficult sometimes to ask and to say, you know what, I'm really struggling today. I'm really struggling to have a positive attitude. I'm really struggling. It's really hard. And having those words come out of your mouth in and of themselves are a real strength. And being vulnerable is a real strength. And how I think back to times when I was vulnerable with my bosses, who I've had some really, really great bosses. And I remember when I had my miscarriage and I told my boss about it, who we had previously had really not super personal conversations, but it was necessary because I was gone for a day and a half because, you know, when you go to the emergency room, you're there for 17 hours. I really don't know why that's the case. Emergency seems like it shouldn't take a whole lot of time. But I had to miss work, and so I called in to let everybody know that I wasn't going to be there. And then the next day, I tried to just come back and be okay. And I wasn't. I was very much not okay. And I remember asking my boss if I could talk to him, and I did. And I told him about our miscarriage, and I remember crying, and I remember him just listening. He didn't say anything for a long time. And I would normally not be an advocate of sharing that kind of information. But when I look back, I remember how supported I felt and how important it was for me to be real about that moment. Because when I did, I certainly wasn't over it, but it was better. And little by little, it got better. And I think the same is true of you. When you share your struggle, you become stronger. Because in the act of sharing, you become vulnerable. And vulnerability is what really connects people. And as my good friend was saying, they hate to be emotional. They hate to jump in and, you know, share. All of the things that were said were true. They were just hard and not delicately positioned. And I think, especially as women, we are tempted to, I want to look good. And I'm guilty of it too, because right now I'm wearing makeup and I'm on camera because I want to look good to you. I also am not afraid to tell you about a struggle. I'm not. It's hard sometimes because I don't want to admit I need help. I think that's really what it comes down to. And women in general, we have this thing where it's like, I have to look good. I have to be good. I can't tell people what's going on. And I think that we all need to break down that barrier. And I think that there is a line between vulnerability and oversharing, and striking that balance is important. And some people don't ever tell you what's really going on because they're not comfortable with it. And I'm not suggesting that you cross a boundary for yourself. Decide where that boundary is and trust some people. You'd be amazed at the results. I have made friends with people that I worked with just by sharing something a little bit more vulnerable than, today is a rough day. I'm going to go get some coffee. Do you want some? I think about my dear friend. I asked her if I could go get her some fries because I was walking across the street. And that friendship is incredibly deep. And it started out with something really shallow. So my message today is share your struggle. It actually makes you stronger, not weaker. My hope is always to inspire you, motivate you, or frustrate you. If you find this helpful, please share and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm Jen Haston, and this has been Haston Helping Hands. Thank you.